All right, so this is our next section of notes. It's on slope and rate of change. Rate of change and slope, they mean the same thing. I think for many students, this might be a review, but we're going to further reinforce this to make sure that you have this for our next topic. But anyways, so we have the unit rate. Unit rate is a ratio, right? And ratio, for the most part, just means a fraction. It's often used to compare different quantities, so we can think about it of miles per hour, right? So that's a speed there. Cost per item. You could think about like grade per student. So typically we have two quantities. Another way to describe the unit rate is the slope. So how steep a line is on a graph. Okay. So think of the unit rate or slope as a ratio of the following. So it is the change, and we'll talk about the symbols that we use here. The change in the dependent variable over the change in the independent variable. Okay, now how we write this, it looks like this. We don't always write the change of, that's a lot of words. We use variables and symbols to represent it. It's the change of y over the change in x. So if we see a coordinate that has an x and y, a graph that has an x and y axis, right, we can tell from that which belongs in the numerator, which belongs in the denominator. Okay. So a key thing that can help us, and then I'm going to ask that you refer to, is something called Mr. Slope space. You may have drawn this before. All right, but it looks like this. These are the four types of slope. We'll refer to them off to the right. So we have this top right, positive, top left, negative. Vertical is called undefined, and the mouth, this horizontal line, is called a zero slope. Okay. Anyways, so which one is which? This top left one, a positive slope, increases from left to right. So I like to think of Mr. Slope or Mrs. Slope as a person walking along this line. This person can only do one thing. They can only walk from left to right. Now, as they walk from left to right along this line, right, in this case, the height is going to go up. Up tells us that is a positive, just like on the y-axis, up is a positive number. Next one, all right, this one is going down. This is called a negative slope. So negative slope decreases, right? If I draw Mr. Slope here, as they walk from left to right, they're going to be going down this ramp or this valley. Their height will be going down, so that tells us it's negative. And we can see on Mr. Slope's face, right, the dimples on the side of his mouth, those are zeros. So any horizontal line is a zero slope. There is no change, right? If you draw a stick figure here, it's like us walking on the ground. Our height is not decreasing, nor is it increasing. And the last one, straight vertical line. The nose tells us it's a U. This is called undefined. This is not represented by quantity, an undefined slope. So it's not even a number. We'll abbreviate typically there as UND, but like if I cannot draw a stick figure on this line at all, so this person would just kind of be falling here. Okay, so the bottom part of this paper, it says identify the type of slope shown on each line on the graph. I'd like for you to determine line A, B, C, and D. You can write one of the following. Is it positive, negative, zero, or undefined? So I'd like for you to pause this video for you to go ahead and write that out. And although we drew Mr. Slope space, if you have any other strategy, listening strategies to help you remember the difference between an undefined slope and a zero slope, then write that there so you can refer to that. Okay, but we're going to be turning this over to the back side. All right. So now we're going to be finding slope on a graph. So a couple of things here. It says to find the slope of the graph, we want a ratio to compare the vertical change over the horizontal change, or that is called the rise over run. So the rise is either up or down, right? Even though it's rise, we don't want to just think it's only up. And run is either one of two things, either left or right. Okay. So to do this, you need to find any or choose any two good points that are on the line. So when we talk about good points, we're talking about, if you look at the grid, They're composed of a bunch of squares, corners of the squares, or any two intersecting vertical and horizontal lines to help us with that. Okay. So then what you count is you count and set a ratio of the vertical change over the horizontal change. And always simplify. So simplify, you find a common factor that can go into both numbers. And then here we're going to say, remember to check your sign. Right. So the rules for dividing, right? A negative divided by a negative is a positive. If the signs are different, it's a negative. So like a negative divided by a positive, that's a negative. A positive divided by a negative, that's a negative. Okay. So if the signs are the same, positive. Signs are different, negative. So if you need to write that down, do so. Here, so we're going to find the slope of these varying points here. So it says, follow the steps. What is the rise of this graph? Now, it looks like we're starting at this point here, and we're going to be going up. It's kind of faded here, but draw this arrowhead, and then we're going to be going right. Direction is important when you find the slope. It looks like our x and y axis go by increments of 1, so it looks like when we count, this is 1, 2, 3, 4 is the rise. And then the run. So it's positive 4 because we're going up. If we went down 4, it'd be negative 4. Now we're going to the right, 1, 2, 3. Right, that is also positive. Going to the right is a positive, going to the left is a negative. Now we'll just set this up as rise over run for the slope, and it's 4/3. So this is completely simplified. They have no common factors. This just stays as is. Okay. All right. Before we go to the graphs and the examples here, I do want to talk about specific types of fractions when we have 0. So something is a 0 slope, looks like this. If you have the following fraction, 0 divided by any number, we're going to have k represent that number. We say that this is okay to have. That's equal to 0. Okay. Versus the other special graph, undefined. Undefined is completely vertical. And that fraction is where we have a 0 in the denominator. We say that this is no, you cannot have that. You cannot divide by 0. This is what we call just undefined, but we'll abbreviate this as UND. Okay, so you're going to see some of those examples below. So on these 6 graphs below, I'm going to work out some of them, and I'll have you do the rest as a you do. I'll work out number 2, 3, and 6. Okay, it looks like, right, we have to be careful with our axes here. It looks like this number 3 goes by 1s, but if you go to number 4, it goes by, right, the x-axis goes by 1s, but the y-axis goes by 3s. Anyways, so let's go and start here. So again, you can choose any point, any good point to find their slope. I'm going to use this point here and this point here. And I'm going to go up and right. So I'm going to draw an arrowhead going up and an arrowhead going to the right. It looks like we go up 1 and to the right 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a positive 4. So rise over run. This is going to be 1/4 as our final answer. Okay, that does not simplify. So we just leave it as is. This one we will simplify because I'm going to choose the following points. I'm going to choose the point on the y-axis, and I'm going to choose this point right here. There's some other good points that we can use. We can go any direction. We can go up and then left, down and right, left and then up. Doesn't matter, but as long as you get from one point to the other. I'm going to go right and then down. Okay. Moving to the right is a positive direction. If I look at my x-axis, we're going by increments of 1. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's a positive 8. Going down, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it is 4, but since we went down, right, we had direction is important. That's a negative 4. Okay, rise over run. Our rise is vertical, so that is negative 4. Our run is positive 8. Now we can divide both of these by a common factor. They're both divisible by 2, but there's a bigger factor. We can divide these both by 4. A negative divided by a positive is a negative, so I'm actually going to just put that in front of the fraction. 4 divided by 4 is 1, and 8 divided by 4 is 2. So our final answer here is negative 1/2. All right, I'm going to leave 4, 5, and 6, so the last one I'm going to work out is number 6. Oh, sorry, you'll do number 7. So I'll do number 6 here. Let's pick 2 good points on this vertical line. Now, this vertical line can actually determine the slope, but let's determine it in this other way. Let's pick some points. I'll pick this point at negative 2, 3, the coordinate negative 2, 3, and let's say negative 2 right here. Okay, I can start at any point, does not matter. I'll start at the top one. I'll go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is 5, but since I went down, it's negative 5. My run is how much I move left or right. How much I move left or right, I actually don't move left and right. I'm already at the point that I wanted to, from point A to point B. So in this case, the run is 0 because I didn't move. So this is negative 5 divided by 0. Okay. Now with this, how do we simplify this? We're going to look at the fractions here. The one that has the denominator on the bottom, that is this one. This tells us you actually can't divide by 0. It's undefined. So here, this is not our slope. Our slope is just UND. All right, but we could have determined that earlier if we saw that it was vertical. Looking at Mr. Slope's face as well, a vertical line is undefined. Okay, all right, we're going to call it there.